So then, just to be clear, then, going forward, you have no potential equity stake, no potential stock option, or any other potential future payments that you currently anticipate could come from either Strike or Brookfield.
So what I have is cash, personal real estate, and they're assets that were, all those assets were divested into a blind trust.
About your regular visits to China, you went there at the time when Xi was trying to show the world that he's open for business. You went back in the fall. Then Brookfield secured a $276 million loan for some property there, I guess that was underwater. Was that a sweetheart loan? Are you beholden to China?
We will build Canada strong. Merci, thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions. The structure of these funds is designed to benefit the pension funds, the Canadian pension funds that invest in them. The Caisse de dépôt, Ontario Teachers as two examples. The beneficiaries of those pension funds, teachers, retirees, municipal employees, they pay the taxes on their pension. That's the design. The follow-up is how do I know? I understand how the world works and the structure works, and have the ability to put in place all of the necessary rules to ensure that the appropriate taxes are paid here in Canada, as is the case in the example that you just gave. The taxes are paid. Ils sont payés ici au Canada. Okay, d'accord.
Could I just follow up on that? Could you explain in the case of those Brookfield funds, like what was the argument for registering the funds in Bermuda? Is it ethical to do that? And is it something as Prime Minister that you'd have to crack down on? I'm not sure if it's a problem, but is that something that you'd have to crack down on?
I think the important thing, Tom, is that the flow through of the funds go to Canadian entities who then pay the taxes appropriately, as opposed to taxes being paid multiple times before they get there. So that's how we have the structure. That's a structure that all of our pension funds, par exemple, the Caisse de dépôt, or Ontario Teachers, or OMERS, municipal employees, or all the big pension funds in Canada, which are very successful, which protect union workers in many cases. I'm speaking of union workers today, and supply to them. It's those entities and their employees who are covered. So the structures work for that effect.
What's the advantage, though, of putting it into a place like
it ensures that it's an efficiency of a structure, so that ensures that the flow through goes to the entities that are resident in the countries.
But is it avoiding tax in any way?
It doesn't avoid tax, because the tax is paid in, for example, the examples all I gave, the taxes are paid in Canada, yes. Okay.
Global news. Just on your personal assets, do you have any, in Stripe and Brookfield, do you have any equity, stock options, or anticipate any future payments from either two of those companies?
So the first thing to say with respect to my personal assets is I have complied with all of the rules. In fact, I've over-complied with all of the rules in advance. So months and months and months in advance, and put in place both divestitures. So I actually don't own directly any stocks in those companies, but since I had worked at those companies, I put in place ethical screens. So my approach to public life, and I've been in public life for more than 2 decades, is to meet all the standards and surpass the standards with the highest integrity. And my record, you can look at it, my track record is that as Governor of the Bank of Canada and other roles internationally. So I comply with the rules. Pierre Poilievre has had 927 days to get his security clearance and still hasn't bothered to do that. And I think it shows a fundamental difference in approach. I more than comply in advance. He never complies.
I understand you might not own any stock directly right now, but I'm talking about in the future. So I just want to come back to this again.
Well, I'm not going to own, just to be clear, sorry if I may, just to be clear, I own nothing now. I came into public life at a time of crisis. I put my hand up because of the crisis, because of what's represented by that bridge, what's represented by the threats to these good men and women of Unifor and their colleagues across southwestern Ontario and across Canada. I came in. What I've done is put all my affairs in order, well in advance. I own nothing but cash and personal real estate. So, and that's not going to change. In public life, that's not going to change. It's actually quite straightforward.
So then, just to be clear, then, going forward, you have no potential equity stake, no potential stock option, or any other potential future payments that you currently anticipate could come from either Strike or Brookfield.
So what I have is cash, personal real estate, and they're assets all those assets were divested into a blind trust, which is managed by a trustee, and it literally means exactly what it says. I don't know what's in it.
That in English, please, specifically about your regrets for making that mistake yesterday, and whether or not it shows perhaps a shortcoming in terms of your language, as well as understanding of Quebec issues.
Well, I wouldn't say I very much regret that I misspoke yesterday. The horrors of the December 6th massacre at the Polytechnic are very much still with us, and the lessons are still to be fully learned. In fact, I just had a conversation this morning around related issues of conjugal violence. I'm extending the point, but it's there. It's not that it was not a question of language. That was a question of misspeaking, to follow up on the previous question, or to translate the previous question for you, response. Look, we have a very strong Quebec team. I'm very proud. We have 6 of our ministers, and I won't list them all, senior ministers of a cabinet of 23. So more than a quarter of the ministers are from Quebec. Within the 150 members of our team, very senior Quebec representation. I have very strong ties into Quebec society as well. Of course, I'm not from Quebec. Not everyone is from Quebec. I'm come from Alberta. I'm born in the north, and my French is fine, but it's not perfect.
Mr. Carney, I'm Judy Trin with CTV News. We have confirmed that Chandra Arya was disqualified because of foreign interference, specifically related to his meeting with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Given the fact that you have security clearance, can you tell Canadians why that is a concern? And the Liberals have yet to put up a full roster of candidates in all 343 ridings. What is the possibility that foreign interference is impacting that selection of candidates, either from India, China, Russia, Iran?
Let me go. I'm going to deal quickly with the first part of your question, if I may, which is that one of the things, and I've had security clearance for almost 2 decades in various forms at various times. One of the things about having security clearance is you don't then take information that you have from security clearance and repeat it to others. This is something Mr. Poilievre wouldn't know because he doesn't have his security clearance. And first point. Second, with respect to the Liberal candidates, I'll say 2 things. One is we have a very robust and serious process of vetting candidates. And we take it very seriously, and so there are some candidates that we don't, to use our terminology, green light, we don't approve, and that is the case with Mr. Arya. There is tremendous interest in joining our candidate slate. We have a remarkable slate of candidates. I will just note the announcement yesterday of Sean Fraser coming in. I could point to Gregor Robertson, Natalie Provost, as we talked about earlier, Evan Solomon, Tim Hodge, like just a huge range of interest of people running for this team. And it's because of 2 things, if I may. One, it's a time of crisis, and people recognizing that in their own way they want to step up and help our country, and I salute them for it. And secondly, because the Liberal Party uniquely sees that we're all in this together. So it's a strong economy, but it's a strong social safety net. It's good union jobs and reinforcing those jobs. It is providing support for Canadians who can't afford it. So we don't say, as Mr. Poilievre said yesterday, oh, I guess dental care, some people actually do use dental care, so if you've got in under the window now, you can keep it. But everyone else, it's too late. It's too late. Oh, and by the way, if you're using childcare, forget about it. This is what's bringing people to the Liberal Party. And we have an incredible group of candidates. I'm very proud of them. And we will have a great team in government.
You're in an area that back in 2022 was the site of a week-long blockade by people who were angry about the Trudeau government's COVID policies. What do you say to those Canadians who lost trust in the Liberal government back then and do not have trust in you now because of your affiliation with that party?
Well, look, I haven't been a politician. I became a politician 2 months ago, a little more than 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. And I came in because I knew this country needed big change. We needed big change in the economy. We needed big change in how we supported people. We needed big change to deal with Trump. And I think you've seen that in the short time that my government has been in place, that big change. We canceled the consumer carbon tax. We got rid of the capital gains tax. We put in place a series of protections for workers with respect to the Trump tariffs, whereas Mr. Poilievre would just use all of that money that belongs to them because they're the ones who are being hit, use them to cut taxes for others. We extended dental care. We negotiated new security partnerships with our oldest partners in France and the UK. I could go on, but Mr. Chase is waiting. Part of how you re-earn trust, and I understand the frustrations of those people, I understand the frustrations with respect to the cost of living. Part of the way you earn trust is by action. And what this government is all about is action. Steve.
One question, one follow-up. The first question's about these issues that Mr. Poilievre raised yesterday. He's suggesting you're beholden to China. He talked about your regular visits to China. You went there at the time when Xi was trying to show the world that he's open for business. You went back in the fall. Then Brookfield secured a $276 million loan for some property there. I guess that was underwater. Was that a sweetheart loan? Are you beholden to China?
Absolutely not. First thing. Second thing I'll say, look, Mr. Poilievre doesn't understand the world. Mr. Poilievre is a lifelong politician. It's all he's ever done. These slogans, sound bites, slander, doesn't understand how the world works. China happens to be our second largest trading partner. It's our second largest trading partner. We have trade disputes with China right now caused by them in the agriculture sector. It's one of the areas which we need to engage on. It's one of the areas, when you think about, again, the auto sector and the future of the auto sector, we've got to understand where China is, where China is going, whether or not there's any room for partnership in that. Look, I'm beholden to absolutely no one except to the Canadian people. I am here for the Canadian people. Steve, your follow-up?
Yeah, follow-up.
Continue. Continue.
The Chinese ambassador's given, I think, 3 or 4 interviews in the last few weeks talking about his interest in reopening free trade talks. My question for you is, as we try to diversify away from the United States and reduce our reliance on our trade with the United States, is it your belief that we should be increasing our trade with China?
Look,
and reopening free trade talks.
Here's my view on this broader set of issues. We need to diversify our trade as a country. We are over-reliant on, as wonderful as the trade going across that bridge, we are over-reliant on the United States. I think it's a lesson we've all learned. We need to diversify. We want to diversify with like-minded partners. That's why I went to Europe in my first days as Prime Minister. Spoke first with European President von der Leyen, obviously met with the French President, and then separately, because it's not part of Europe anymore, as you know, the United Kingdom, in terms of building trade with them. There are partners in Asia that we can build deeper ties. There is certain activity that, but the partners in Asia that share our values don't include China. There's certain activity that we could have with China. We obviously do have a large amount of trade with them, but we have to be very careful, very deliberate, and they need to meet Canadian standards.